So my name is Ariel, and I'm going to be presenting the developmental domains of early childhood education. So basically, from the moment a child is born, they begin developing touching, smelling, tasting, listening, and observing through domains that come from their physical and mental abilities. These domains consist of three main points: social, emotional, physical, motor, and cognitive language development. As a child progresses, they develop change and growth within their mental abilities, each domain having an equal amount of importance. So we'll start off with the physical motor development. So basically, this domain is has the most body changes occurred throughout the child's development. They have improved control and coordination, increasing their flexibility and their agility, also allowing their bodies to become more coordinated for activities. And it's actually heavily influenced by nutrition and illness. So this actually involves the fine and gross motor skills, which are coordination with the eyes that involve reaching and grabbing. Pretty much these skills are used in an average person's daily life. As children develop these skills, they become more independent by allowing them to learn how to do the simple things like going to the restroom, dressing, eating. And this domain actually involves skills which use larger muscles, such as balance and strength. Next, we'll go on to the cognitive language development. So pretty much this domain it involves development intellectually and creativity. Children develop the abilities to pay attention and process thoughts and memories. They begin to understand their surroundings and begin to make goals for themselves. In this domain, their communication skills are recognized. It involves their speaking, listening, writing, reading, and development. So basically, cognitive is learning and processing involving thinking, language, imagination, problem solving, and memory. These skills help us recognize what we know versus what we don't. Language development is what we use to express ourselves and to communicate with others. This development happens when we put our emotions into words and into sentences for us to communicate. So this is why it's important for adults to expose children to reading and engaging in conversations to help them develop these important skills. Next, we'll move on to social emotional development, and this focuses towards the growth of a child understanding their emotions and being able to control them. Also, for a child to be able to interact and create relationships with others by cooperating and showing empathy as a child develops. This domain, throughout this domain, they should be able to identify how they are feeling and how others are feeling. And so in this stage, a child develops a relationship with parents, teachers, peers, and this development is a form of self-knowledge and how they identify themselves within different groups. It is very important for children to have these skills throughout their life because it does make an impact on how the child is focusing at home and at school and how they're developing relationships with others. And as a child grows, they are taught how to handle emotions, use manners, and make friends. So this is also an important domain for their self-esteem that helps with their social emotional development, so it remains positive. So next, we'll move on to the different stages throughout a child. So first, we'll start off as the infant, and usually an infant tends to cry, of course, to use as a way to express their emotion. And an infant is able to recognize imitation games. An infant also learns how to follow simple instructions and begin to explore using their hands and fingers. Physically, an infant actually triples from its birth weight, and they begin to move hands and feet in a rotation motion. This starts out from a newborn all the way to 12 months. Next, move on to a toddler. As a toddler, they have developed a self-identity and have gained a strong ownership. They start to become very active and eager. Their language begins when they should have already said their first words, and they begin to repeat after adults. They're able to understand phrases, but not yet able to communicate verbally, so they usually point their fingers as a way of communication. And physically, a toddler is able to now use their whole arms for movement. By the time a child is 2 years old, this is when they become very possessive and easily frustrated, and also easily distracted. But they do get excited when they learn something new. A 2-year-old is now able to recognize characteristics, but their attention span is limited, and this is the age where they investigate using their touch and taste senses. Physically, this is around where a child should learn. This is where a child should be able to use the restroom on their own, and their walking isn't fully figured out yet, but they're getting there. An example would be when you see a 2-year-old walking up the stairs. They usually go 1 foot at a time because they're still not able to completely balance it out. Next, when a child reaches 3 years old, they should be able to respond to verbal suggestions, and they have become very talkative. Their cognitive development has improved enough to where they have a wide imagination, but also develop their own fears and jealousy. At this age, a child has become more alert and curious of their surroundings, and they start to use their new words. Physically, a child by the age of 3, a child should be well balanced. They should have complete bladder control, and they at this stage, when a child is now walking, they're able to use alternative feet. By 4 years old, a child is able to decide whether other children are friends and which are not, especially during play. They have an improved language and begin to ask a lot of questions, and their attention span has even grown. Their body movement is now almost fully developed. By 5 years old, a child has become self-confident and understands their self-identity. They're able to spell out their words and able to have a full conversation. Their attention span is now increasing more, and their body has developed a better coordination. From the ages 6 to 7, a child develops to be full of opinions and also very self-conscious. This is where they start to learn to read and learn new math skills. And by the age of 8, a child should be very enthusiastic and socially expansive. They have grown self-confidence and understand responsibility. An 8-year-old is very energetic and has increased eye-hand coordination, and of course their attention span is increased. So basically, the most important aspect to understand about all the developmental domains is that they are all equally important and have an extreme important impact on the growth of a child. These domains are the foundation of the skills and knowledge a child develops in their early life. Although children do develop at their own rate, these are at the levels at which a child should reach by the age in their life.